Hey, Mike.
Hi, Maggie.
How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Okay. So this is the Friends on Fire podcast.
And this is where we are on a mission to get friends to talk about money.
Awesome. So we're super excited about today. This is our first interview, and we're going to be interviewing Michelle and Jake from the Retired Toddlers.
And I'm just super pumped about this because I follow people like this online all the time. And it ties back to our earlier episode about the fire pillars and finding freedom. Like, this family has found this freedom and this flexibility. And I'm just very interested to understand how they came up with this and how their life has been changing.
Agreed. And I love that they've kind of reversed what is a common trend to retire late in life. You actually can retire when your kids are young, go back to work later. Anyways, I love the trend of what they're doing. And I often follow people like this also. And what's really cool about Michelle and Jake is that I actually knew Jake in college. So it's pretty cool to see someone that you knew doing this. There's something about being connected to someone in even a small way, where when it's a complete stranger doing something, you're like, oh, well, that's them. And when it's someone that you know, and we have some other people we know from work that are, in the fire space. And it's like when it's someone it seems more attainable and more real. And like, well, I could do that. Just like he's just like me. We could go do that.
And do you think people are going to feel that way about knowing us?
I think so, yeah.
Do you think they're going to be like Mike and Maggie? They're celebrities now.
Yeah.
Maybe not to that
Our
degree.
3 listeners, yeah. My mom feels that way.
Right.
For
My
sure.
mom has thought I've been a celebrity my entire
If only
life.
my mom knew how to get a podcast up on her phone, Okay, so Mike, I'm super excited to introduce our very first interview podcast guest that we've had yet on the show. This is the Retired Toddlers. We'll tell you a little bit more about them in a minute, but this is Jake and Michelle from the Retired Toddlers. They sold their house in 2016 to travel around the world with their 2 young children, and we'll hear more about that from them. So yeah, I actually went to college with Jake at the University of Georgia, and like many people from college, I've not done an awesome job of keeping in touch over the years. So we've not talked in probably 20 years, but for the last, 5 or 10 years, I feel like I've roughly known what they've been up to through social media. And when they started the whole Retired Toddlers thing, which is back in 2016, I've just really, really enjoyed watching their journey and seeing the really cool adventures they've been on with their kids. I've had a lot of FOMO and wanted to kind of vicariously live through them because they've just been on these like epic adventures with their kids. And when you're like at home in the day-to-day grind and you're watching it every day, I'm like, I just want to quit it all and I want to go do what they're doing. So you've been a great inspiration to many people. And thanks for coming on the show with us.
Well, we are happy to be here and excited to be your first guests.
Awesome. No pressure. We'd love to just have you kind of talk a little bit about who you guys are and who are the Retired Toddlers.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am Michelle Champ, and Jake and I met at University of Georgia and later in life got married. And we were living in Tampa with our 2 kids. After our second was born, we decided, you know what, we need a bigger house. And so we kind of picked a neighborhood down the street. We sold our house and just about everything. And with no plan to travel, honestly. We were just like, you know what, let's just sell everything because we don't want to try to fit this stuff into a new house. And we didn't find the house that we wanted. So every summer we go on vacation up in Rhode Island, where Jake is from. And from there, we just kind of had these like little discussions, right? Like, do you want to really buy a bigger house? Do we need a bigger house? We had been living so consciously and, with one car, made really good financial decisions. And then we kind of decided we don't need a bigger house.
Yeah. And I think one thing we did was after we moved, when we were staying in New England for the summer, we all fit into this little 1-bedroom hotel suite. Mm-hmm. And we just loved how together we felt and how we didn't feel like, spread out. We were very tight knit. And that really was the impetus, I think, for us saying, do we need a bigger house? Do we need to expand, or do we really need to come together more?
Yeah, that's awesome.
Absolutely.
It's like a tiny house living.
Yeah, exactly. So one thing led to another, and we were like, well, let's just take some time and travel. And that was a very conscious decision of like, we are going to spend this money and travel, and we are going to be okay with it. And so that's what we did. And one thing led to another. And then 3.5 years later or something like that, we are still traveling, living out of suitcases. And it just has become a lifestyle now than like a vacation.
I love it. I'll be honest, I didn't initially know that it wasn't as thoughtfully planned as I thought there was a thing where you were one day like, let's sell it all and go travel for 3 years. You know, like I like how sort of organic it was along the way.
Yeah, it really was. And so many people are like, well, how long did you plan for it? You know, we've been planning, we're going to do something like that in 2 years. What, you know, and we're like, you know, it was really quick. And looking back, we would have done things differently had we really known this is what we were going to do for so long.
Like the pod. I know you've talked about your pod.
Yes. We have a pod down in Tampa that, you know, it has like photo albums in it that is really all I care about. And besides that, it's just like little things that we just thought that, you know, that's the kind of thing that we didn't really think through because we did not know we were going to do this.
Yeah, but at the same time, I think we've always lived financially responsibly. So we had the flexibility to take this adventure because we had set ourselves up for this, you know, this journey.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. So did you guys know when you first met, did you know you had similar philosophies about money and about just more conscious living and things like that?
I don't, and correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, like Jake and I had lots of discussions, right? Like money is something that we talked about a lot. But I don't know that we consciously were like, this is how we want to live. We want to, you know, live below our means or anything like that. It was never more that. It was more like, how can we make money at that point? Don't you think?
Yeah. And I was super broke when she met me. So she knew right away that she wasn't going on class dates.
No, but it was great. But I mean, like that, I think to kind of come from that space is really good because everything was up from there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were both really into learning about different self-help financial planning books, things like that.
Yeah, and just different investment opportunities. I've always been really curious about, you know, real estate. We dabbled in real estate a little bit, and different types of investments, the stock market. I mean, even at a young age, I think for my 21st birthday, I asked for money for a stock market instead of presents.
That's cute.
So like I think between us, we've made some good decisions early on that could have actually, like, we didn't necessarily have to have made those great decisions early on, but we were still very, very broke early, right?
Take me back to when you decided to take this plunge and what your like financial plan was. So it sounds like you had saved up a lot of money. You had decided to go spend it on travel. What was your thinking? Like, how long did you think you were going to do that? What were your concerns? Like, how did that feel when you were making this big decision?
Well, I would say that, you know, it started because I was traveling for work each week. And when my son turned 1, I had this discussion with my mom about, you know, someday I'm going to retire early and spend time with the kids. And she said, oh, that's great. You know, when they're 15 or something. She said, that's great. But, you know, your kids need you more than ever right now. And that really stuck with me for months and months. And I thought, you know, she's right. I'm really missing, by traveling each week away from the kids, I'm missing all these little moments that matter so much that we're never going to get back. And so that's when that first summer I decided to stop working. We had prepared financially for that move so that we would have money in reserves. And that was really the start of saying, we're going to spend more time together as a family. That was what was most important to us.
Yeah. And at that time, we were just planning to go up to Rhode Island for the summer. That's why we said, okay, Jake was doing contract work. And we've always set ourselves up like that. We have not taken, I think back in 2008 or 9, right, we quit our more traditional jobs and started a business where we could do consulting work and just kind of pick up jobs that we wanted to do and have more flexibility. And that was something, actually, speaking of early on, that we both talked about that we really wanted, was freedom and flexibility. Mm-hmm. We both really had the urge for that. And so when Jake quit for the summer, and that was really all we had planned for. And then we were like, well, let's go on a little vacation. So we went to Hawaii, and then we were like, Hawaii is quite close to New Zealand. It's not that far. And then we were like, well, shoot, we never got Jagger, our youngest son, a passport. So we went back, and then one thing led to another. And literally within 2 months, we were planning this trip for about 3 to 6 months was our time frame. So to answer your question, about 3 to 6 months was our initial time frame. We were going to come back, move, get jobs, or not get jobs, but pick up, consulting stuff. Jake was, and I was going to continue my business, and that was that. But that never happened. We keep going.
Yeah, I think once we started traveling, we realized the cost of traveling is not that much more and sometimes less than living in your actual house, living your daily lives. And so it was really eye-opening to us to see if we managed our money well and didn't spend crazy big on travel, if we budgeted reasonably for our travels, that we could actually continue to extend our travels versus going back and buying a huge house for a big mortgage and all that. So it was an eye-opening experience for us to go through that financial realization.
That's so funny. That was literally one of the things we were going to ask you about, was just the assumption that people think it costs a lot of money to travel, but when you're doing it sort of full time, the way that your family is, that you're not spending a lot of money on all those, quote, like normal things, like utilities and a house and homeowners insurance and car insurance, all those things that massively add up day to day.
Yeah. And just trips to Target,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
So do you find financially, well, a couple questions just to dig in there. So it sounds like, Jake, you were saying you guys do find financially, it's not actually that much more in terms of your like annual expenses as a family when you're traveling than if you were living a, quote, like the typical lifestyle at home.
Right. I think that it depends on which, it's month to month. It depends. Sometimes we take really big trips that are more expensive than living at home. But oftentimes our travels are budget friendly and we're able to control a lot of the costs because we don't have, like you mentioned, a lot of those hard costs of living in a home in America.
So I think that'd be kind of something really interesting for people listening. Like, how do you maybe describe some of your budget travel? How do you control costs? What do you find is important and what do you find is not important?
Yeah, and I think just to kind of back up, so I say we are comfort travelers, right? We are certainly not your budget travelers because we want it, in order for us to think of this as a lifestyle, we have to have some sort of comforts to go along with it. You can absolutely travel like we are similarly, but for budget, by one, planning better, because at first we frolicking all around the world just because we thought that was it. We thought that was like our big chance. So there's definitely lots of budget traveler families that are great. We are more comfort style. So with that being said, though, I would say that when we are in Mexico living, we probably spend $5,000 a month, don't you think, all in?
Yeah, $4,000 to $5,000 a month in Mexico.
It's really, really reasonable. That's way less than we spent in living in the States.
Yeah, it's funny you gave it's nice of you guys to give the exact amount, but that's very similar to like on a good month what I would spend here, right? Like
yeah.
And it's actually, I should more say, it's actually hard for me to get down to like $4,000 to $5,000 a month if I include a lot of day-to-day spending. But when I include, like, again, car insurance,
trips to Target,
homeowners insurance, I'm good about trips to Target. You're not, Mike, but yeah, there's so many things that, anyways, it's fascinating. And I think makes people change their sort of perspective on what it really costs to travel, and have different types of lifestyles.
Right. No, absolutely. I mean, you can absolutely do it really budget friendly. But then when we take bigger trips, then, we'll spend $10,000 to $15,000 a month. That it just depends. And we try to kind of even it out throughout the year. So one, when we're on the go, it's really tiring. So we like to, take some months where we're just like relaxing somewhere. And typically that's where you get your more budget friendly months, because every time you pick up and travel, you have the cost of flights and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. That really is the part that adds up.
I love your term comfort traveler, though. I don't know if you coined that, but you should take full credit for it. I would say that's a good term, because when Mike and I have talked about travel some, I think he is much more sort of budget friendly or conscious and a planner and, doing some travel hacking to get good deals. And I am much more like, well, I want to travel. These are the dates I want to travel. This is where I want to go. And the flights were expensive, and I want to stay somewhere that's lovely and has a nice view.
Yeah. Yeah. So we have like a good mix of that, I feel like. Sometimes we like splurge because it's been on our list and we are going to do it no matter what, like going to see Santa Claus, Finland, to go to the North Pole to see Santa Claus. But then in that same sense, we'll like really work to find a way to make it so that to me, it's more about value. And I think that's the important part. It's like, is it a good value for us? And sometimes that's not necessarily cheap, but if it's too expensive, it becomes not a good value. And then we don't see the value in it, really, is what it comes down to. So we do work to try to hack little things here and there when we can. And then we spend where it's just not working, where we just want to do it.
I'm curious, do you all set any sort of kind of annual spending goals or targets of, what you're trying to live off within a year?
I am. Jake was sensitive. So, we actually had this discussion recently that we, I think most people think that we have these huge spreadsheets and we're very much like budget conscious about every cent, and we are not. I think we are like that for our business, right? Like we track every penny, and expenses against it and all that kind of stuff. But for our travel, we definitely have spreadsheets where we have tracked. Jake has been really good about tracking our travel. We're not living off of really, really tight budgets. And to balance that, we work really hard so that we do not have to live crunching pennies every day.
Well, I actually really like that in a way. And I was thinking about just the sort of comparison between like the concept of FIRE, which is, financial independence, retire early, and the whole concept of retired toddlers, and like the conversation, Jake, that you were saying you had with your mom that sounds like helped to kind of prompt a lot of this. Just around the idea of why people want to retire early is to enjoy more of their lives. And you guys have almost reversed the script in a way and said, I'm going to enjoy my life now while my kids are young. And I think that is what is so kind of appealing and attractive about what you guys are doing, and that you're spending this really amazing quality time with your kids on these like epic adventures around the world. And you're doing it. You can afford to, I don't know if this is turning into a question or a comment, honestly, but you can afford to do it because you are working along the way and because of the way you've kind of lived your lifestyle up until then. But I assume someday you will go and, not necessarily get, a different type of job, but I'm losing my train of thought, honestly, just to be very transparent.
I can't follow it at all, Maggie.
My point was that you've like reversed this. Like so many people are obsessed with FIRE, and Michelle, you might be getting it because you're about to say something.
I understand exactly where you're going.
There we go. See, I just need a woman to listen to me, Mike. She gets me.
I think, what you're saying is really true. It's that so many people, and we say this all the time, are saving, crunching penny. And there's nothing wrong with this, right? There's nothing wrong with saving, making sure that you can retire early and live, and then really live your life. We just don't really completely believe that you have to wait to live your life. And I think we've been reassured by that time and time again, don't you think?
Yeah, I think, we've been to maybe 40 countries and
with the kids,
yeah. And throughout those adventures, our decision to make this big move now while we are young has been reinforced so many times. So many places we've been to, we see the retirees that are there at a regular retiree age, and they're struggling with some of these
activities,
like
or like
things.
Adventures, or how many times a day do you think people are like, you are doing the right thing, like do it now, like if we were your age, we could have done so much of what we wanted to do, or my wife wanted to come but she got sick, and this has been our dream to take this vacation but she got sick, and so we had to put it off, or like every day we're just like, we are fine spending our money now. Don't get us wrong, we also save a lot.
Yeah, and I think just because we've chosen to prioritize travel in our life, that means that we've shifted our spending towards travel money now, but we've also allocated significant funds to our retirement and maxing out everything we can as well, so that we're not leaving ourselves hanging for when we get older.
Yeah, I think that's great. And you said a second ago, you don't have to wait to live your life. And I just think that's a great statement and phrase, because I do think that actually is one, some people might get misdirected on like the purpose of even FIRE, and the purpose of kind of being more frugal to save money. But also the idea of just not waiting and splurging on certain things, and, figuring out what your priorities are and investing money in them. And we often talk about that, of just the idea of you can't spend money on everything, but you figure out what your priorities are and spend money on that. And for you guys, it's travel and spending time with your family.
And it's absolutely true. I mean, we've even, even when we had a house, we only had one car between both of us.
Yeah, I love that.
And the biggest joke is like our daughter was 2, and walking down the street in the nicer neighborhood that we were about to move into, and there's a couple garages with their garage door open, and she would stop and be like, "They have 2 cars."
That's so funny.
And then the next one, she'd be like, "They have 2 cars too." And so, but like to us, honestly, to me, maybe I'll speak on behalf of myself. I did not care about cars. I don't really, there's things I'll spend money on and things I will not. I think I'm a very conscious consumer, and I do not have problems spending money on quality brands. But it's just like some people, it's want to drive a nice car, and I could care less. I'd much rather take that money and spend it on an awesome experience.
It's funny you say that because
our
next episode is about cars. I drive a 2003 Ford Explorer that hasn't been washed in about 15 years.
That's 2003.
Yeah, 2003.
Yeah. It shakes on the highway.
Right.
Yeah. But he's going to drive it till it dies, and then he's just going to leave it on the side of the road.
I love it. We had paid off our car, and so it's one thing actually that we still have from selling everything. We never actually sold our car because we were like, well, why? It still works. And then every time we come back to the States, we don't need to
get a rental car. Yeah.
So I could go on and on about that. It's just that I definitely believe in being a conscious consumer. I believe in putting money into good brands. I just think that so many people are trying to keep up with their neighbor and their best friend who is driving an awesome car, buying a bigger house, or has this fancy purse. And the truth is that, I think the question is for most people, is that really you? Is that really what you want? And to me, my friends all day can buy all that stuff, and I'm super happy for them. But I don't ever feel the need to keep up with them in that sense because I have my own desires that I'm going after.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think people sometimes think you're suffering when you're not doing those things, like you're not enjoying the finer things in life. But I know personally, I am just as happy, or I know my car, does not define my happiness level. And there's a lot of physical things that don't define my happiness level, but I do know what does, like travel and other things.
You talked about, your desires. How has that changed over time? And you guys are getting older, obviously. Your kids are getting older, and Maggie and I both have kids, and it seems like every week they're into something new, and they're dramatically different people. So how has your life plans changed as your family has grown up, and what does the future hold?
So when we started traveling, we saw this opportunity before they got into school age where we could spend time with them and travel around the world without dealing with any of the consequences of taking them out of school, anything like that, because they were so young at the time. Once Henley got to be kindergarten age, we decided that she was really ready for, that peer-to-peer social interaction and schooling. She really likes order and structure. And so we took an opportunity to put her in school in Mexico. And I think that was a big change for us because we went from on the go each week or each month to a different country to let's stay in one place for a whole semester to have her in school and have her go through that daily routine. And so that was the biggest change, I think, from our travel lifestyle to be stationary for once from.
Yeah. And I mean, but that, I think the biggest thing is though, that we realize that we can just adjust and change as necessary for our kids, that we aren't, just because we make a decision today doesn't mean that we're stuck with it. And I think that's also a really good lesson in life in general is just because you make one decision to travel doesn't mean you always have to travel. Just because you haven't decided to travel up to this point doesn't mean you can't start now. And I think the same goes with our kids. We realized we saw an opportunity to put our kids in school in Mexico where Jake's mom spent some time because we had this flexibility and we could be close to her. And we ended up loving the school. The kids thrived in it, which we didn't expect. Now, I shouldn't say we didn't expect because our kids are pretty adaptable, but they ended up loving it. And we are the parents that would have been like, okay, you're not loving school. We'll just keep homeschooling, world schooling you, or we'll put you somewhere else. It doesn't we don't have to have this. What society
you're not
thinks
tied
is
down
the right
to one thing.
Yeah, we're not tied down to anything. So we're kind of, I think, Mike, to your point, we're kind of playing it by ear here, okay, right now this is working for us, and what's working for us now might not work for us next year, and that's okay. And we'll make those decisions accordingly. But for right now, what we have been doing is putting our kids in school for, 4 to 5 months. Then we are pulling them we just pulled them last week out of the school in Mexico to take them on a big adventure for January, February, March, where we will go around South America and Antarctica. And then
that sounds amazing,
we will put
by the
them
way.
back in school. Yeah, it should be.
Can you say what you're doing? I know you said something on social media about it.
We haven't really completely announced it, but yeah, we are taking a 77-day cruise, actually.
Wow.
Down through the Panama Canal, a bunch of countries around South America, Ecuador, Peru, Chile, Argentina, Uruguay, into Antarctica for a few days, where Jake will celebrate his 40th birthday.
Congrats. I'm feeling kind of lame about where I'm going to celebrate my 40th birthday now. If yours is in Antarctica.
Do you have a party with the penguins too?
Oh, there might be like an inflatable penguin at mine, but no real ones.
So we're going to do that, and it takes us up the coast of Brazil into the Amazon, and then we will put our kids back in school in Mexico because they're really just loving it. And I think one of the things we want to be able to give the kids is the gift of another language, honestly, because it's really a gift of communication with a different culture.
That's incredible.
One of the I love, by the way, how flexible you guys are with, let's kind of take it day by day and see how things go and make adjustments as we need to. And one of the things that I feel like it was you guys were talking about in some videos, maybe a year or two back, or something on social media, that I always took to heart, and I've quoted to my husband a lot when we're traveling with our kids, is just the idea that you may not be able to do as many things as you would have done when you were just traveling as two adults. Like you might see half as many of the things that you had planned on seeing in a day because kids are just slower and they need breaks and they, tiny legs, all their problems. And I just love that concept because, it's just the idea of like slower travel and just being realistic to what you can do with what you've got, I think is a great perspective.
Yeah, you don't have to see everything, but you certainly have to enjoy every minute. So whatever works for you and your family travel lifestyle, certainly is the way you need to set your trips up.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And we treat it, more like a lifestyle, less like a vacation. We, like you said, we don't feel like the need to see everything. And honestly, we enjoy it more it's especially hard when we go somewhere and we are going through maybe like a tour agency for, like when we were in Egypt, we went through an incredible tour agency and they wanted to book us something because really you could do so much every single day there. But we had to say, honestly, our best travel days are when we have long breaks. Mm-hmm. So if we can do something in the morning and go see something, we don't need to see the rest of the stuff in the afternoon. We'd rather just rest as a family. And that just suits our travel at this age, at this time better.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point that you treat your travel as a lifestyle versus a vacation. And I think that's where a lot of people get into trouble with spending is that they go on these trips and they do all of these things that they would never, ever do in their normal life. And they pay an exorbitant amount of money to do them. So they go away for a week and they spend $15,000 on a week. And they do all of these things that are just maybe don't even mean that much to them, but it seems like something you should do on vacation. So I really like that. I might put that on a t-shirt.
What are you going to put on the shirt?
I need to work out the phrasing of it, but it's travel like a lifestyle.
Oh,
I'll come back to you guys on it.
Finesse that a little bit. I do have a couple of really good quotes of things that you guys have said, though, that I'm going to accredit to the Retired Toddlers.
I love it. No, but it is really true. And I think that so many times, even when people come to visit us, they realize that we are treating this like a lifestyle. Like we are not going out to dinners like crazy. Maybe when we live in Mexico, we do because it's just as cheap to eat out. But like most places, we're cooking. We're trying to find a place where we can cook at home. We are not spending money on big fruity drinks poolside, and all this kind of stuff. It's just like, that's not what we are doing when we travel. And because we would rather take that money and spend it on an experience that we really want to take instead.
Yeah, it sounds awesome. It sounds like that was fairly similar to your lifestyle at home also before you were traveling.
Yeah, I'd say it was.
Yeah.
I know I liked in one of your in the video, Michelle, I think where you were talking about how you kind of finance things, you talked a little bit about lifestyle inflation and just how you guys lived your life before you were traveling, and that you've talked about a bit today about just one car and not keeping up with the Joneses and all that. But I'd love your thoughts on just the idea of kind of lifestyle inflation, and was that a very thoughtful decision that you guys talked about a lot, or was that something that you just sort of fell into and was the way you both were?
I think it was just more of our behavior, like just our natural fallback behavior. I don't think it was anything we needed to be too conscious about. Even as we started to make more money, our interest to spend more money didn't increase. We just felt like, oh, great, now we have more flexibility to do more travel, honestly.
Yeah.
Even before we made these big leaps to do travel, we always planned and prioritized travel in smaller ways.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And we, years ago when we traveled, it was really, really budget, right? I don't think we would travel like that still. So we definitely have made adjustments. I mean, I backpacked Europe, stayed in hostels, like we did that thing. Then Jake and I, when we first traveled, because we thought you had to get all your travel done before kids and before marriage, we took a year to travel, and we were crunching pennies, right? I mean, we were just like trying to get by. And so that's not of interest to us anymore, is to live like that, because we are able to make more money. So I think there's two things. Is one, we're not spending an exorbitant amount more. We are just, as we're making more money, we are spending it so that we can have the comforts that we desire. But we are always also looking to keep making more money and to keep looking at different types of opportunities where we can have some type of residual income, some type of, income that Jake gets consulting. And so we try to balance it all out.
Yeah, right? And I think that's maybe one side that people, we don't see as much on social media perhaps, is that we work very hard throughout the year, and we do that so that we have flexibility and freedoms in our life to take these travels.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, because I know you guys have said that sometimes people think you're just like trust fund kids and someone's magically funding your amazing travels with your kids. But it's I think important for people to understand, like, you're working along the way to fund this lifestyle and prioritize this lifestyle.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's important for people to realize that, because I think for us, it's important for people to realize that, because then they understand that they can do it too. Like, nobody gave us any money. We simply it's a matter of saving and finding ways to make more money along the way, and then having some kind of balanced lifestyle that works for us, which includes travel and work, travel, work, basically is what we do.
But one of the things that I struggle with is, like, I'm such a, I'm a finance guy. Like, I plan everything. I'm like very meticulous about how I forecast and plan, and I have a lot of structure. And so the idea of just kind of like doing something and then figuring it out along the way,
it makes you nervous.
It makes me super nervous.
Right? I mean, like, I get that too. I think I'm this like mix though. Like, I like structure, but I also like freedom so much. Mm-hmm. And I'm also one that kind of likes a little challenge of figuring it out. But if it starts getting tight, like when we decided after the initial 6 months that we'd keep traveling, I mean, that was a lot of time off of work for Jake. Jake doesn't work when we are traveling a lot. So like the 77-day cruise, he's not working, I keep my business running, and that's really helpful to us because we have some sort of residual income, and that has been doubling every year, which is really great.
That's awesome.
But the truth is that I'm building a business, right? And so it takes time. And so there's been some points where we're like, okay, now we really have to be much more budget conscious until we can get some more money, and figure out more ways to make money. So there's times where, like, I don't know that I've ever been stressed, because I always have this mindset that, like, we can do it if we put our mind to it and we work hard enough.
I didn't work for 2 years on our first 2 years of traveling. So I worked to zero for 2 years. And so that was, in some ways, it's unnerving to think about that, but we always felt like we had the foundation of our retirement plan, of our savings. So we never felt like we were dipping into anything beyond what would keep us steady.
Yeah. And then we had like my business that I was building. I mean, it's slower, but I'm building it. And so like we had some income coming in to offset it a bit.
One thing that's interesting that I often think about is, like, which I think you guys have, is as much as I sometimes will, could be nervous about the future, like what's coming and, how I'm going to deal with some situation, I generally have an overall sense of confidence. Like I'll always have the ability to make money, right? Whatever I choose to do. And I feel like you guys probably have a similar level of confidence that if and when you need to make more money to fund something in your life, you can, and you can make decisions to kind of lean in one direction or not.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I wish more people would have that ability to, one, recognize that money is, I don't know if this is going to come out right, but I'm going to say it anyway. Money is plentiful out there, and it takes some work and some desire and some confidence to go out and get it and figure out ways that you can be passionate about what you do and make money. But I don't think either of us have this mindset that like, it's scarce or something.
Yeah.
We don't have
you don't have a scarcity mindset. That's a great point.
And maybe it helped that when we were traveling on our own prior to getting married, we, kind of got down to nothing traveling, just traveling on pennies. And that's where we really started to build up and find ways to make money online and be more versatile and how we could get money to flow into us. I think that's really going back to that state in our mind of, you can make money with nothing. You can start with nothing and find ways, things that you're passionate about, things that are interest you, find your skills, your strengths, and use those to make money online, whatever it is, locally, however you can find it.
Okay, I have one last personal question that I'm just curious about. I've been working for 20 years nonstop, and some days I don't know a better word to say other than I'm just exhausted. But Jake, when you talked about stopping working for 2 years, what did that do for you? Like, did that give you some level of a like refresher to go back out there and like have more energy for the world?
I think it definitely took months and months to get out of that mindset, right? So even when I stopped working, it wasn't like turn the switch off and now I'm refreshed, right? It really took a long time to come away from that feeling of like, I'm supposed to be doing something right now. I'm supposed to be emailing somebody on a conference call, whatever it might be. So just to come down from that took a long time. So I would say it's not something you can just turn off immediately. And coming down from that made me, through that transition, I realized what was most important to me was spending time with my family and being present with the kids, all of that, which is really not something that comes naturally when you're used to being on the go working so much. But I would say that after all of that, 2 years not working, once we put our kids in school, I went back to work because they were, in school full time. And it was a nice reset. I felt very invigorated to go back into work. I think that something people probably don't think about when they are retiring or when they're stopping working is that you also have a purpose in your business or professional life. And when you take that away, you lose a chunk of you and you lose that professional, that business need to feel fulfilled in that sense. It just becomes a part of you, I guess, through your working life. And if you don't have something to replace that, then you're going to have some type of emptiness inside you. And you need to find something to fill that up with.
And wouldn't you say, though, that in order to get to that point, and when I've seen friends that have done this, like maybe something similar, where they might have quit their position because they are just burnt out and that is not fulfilling them anymore. And it takes those months to come down, but you need that time to like find what is important to you. And if you don't take that time for yourself to like actually make that move when you are feeling burnt out or you are feeling, and it has to be strategic in some ways, I don't ever tell anybody to like just quit their job and, be under financial stress. That's way more stressful. But like, if it's not fulfilling you anymore and you have the ability to take a step back for a while, like a lot of good can come in that, and probably a lot better for your life and probably better for you financially. So.
Yeah, I think for me, I'm very fulfilled by what I do. I really love what I do. So I went back to doing exactly what I was doing previously and thankfully was, able to find a great project to continue that space. But yeah, I think you have to really figure out what you're passionate about, what you love doing and focus on that.
I again, coming back to it, I think it makes better employees, honestly, when you give them just a break to reflect and to just be for a minute. And it also then brings them back into a space of, Jake and we always talk about this too, in terms of retirement and thinking about, in the future. I don't know that, maybe we'll change our minds and certainly we have ways to go, but do you ever feel like we'll stop working in in all capacities. I don't. Like,
Yeah.
I love doing something.
I don't know, 77 days, I'm not doing any work.
We talk about it sometimes on here, but that's one of the sort of misconceptions about FIRE even, is it's not actually about retiring to like do nothing. It's about retiring
Right.
from having to have a certain type of job to maintain a certain type of lifestyle.
Right.
And to be able to do what you really want to do and what you're passionate about, and something that, you know, may not be as financially driven.
Exactly. And I think that is the ultimate goal, right? At the end of the day.
I think my mom's a good example of that. She quit her career and now she makes jewelry in Mexico and sells at a local shop there. That's finding your passion, right? And
Yeah.
living to it.
That's pretty cool. I've heard people call it an encore career lately. Sort of like your,
cool. I like
yeah,
that.
she's on her encore career as a jewelry maker in Mexico. I love it. Okay, so what is the best place for people to follow along on the Retired Toddlers journeys if they want to?
Yeah, Michelle makes these amazing videos on YouTube. So on YouTube, you can find us at Retired Toddlers. It's our channel. You can also find us on Instagram and Facebook, Retired Toddlers, or retiredtoddlers.com.
Awesome. And we'll put some links in the show notes also. I didn't realize Michelle was behind those videos. Good to know.
That was just like I don't even know how I got stuck doing all those.
But she does an amazing job all on her own.
You know, and that's like one of those things too. Like, I have zero video editing, video taking, anything experience, except that we wanted to capture memories for our family, and we wanted to have some kind of accountability
Yeah.
for making the videos. And so social media gave us that accountability. Even, I mean, you know, just to even our friends and family, and just like saying, okay, we're going to put out videos for this. And so we started making them, and we play around with it, but it's been the best thing that we've had to do, right?
Yeah, it's definitely been the best blessing that we did. You know, by doing that from the start, it has given us the gift of these amazing memory albums and videos that we can look back on.
Yeah, I love it. They're fun to watch. Okay, we're going to do a quick thing and then we'll wrap this up. But
So Maggie likes to end each episode with what she calls Mike's Minute on the Mic, where she asks me a really hard question and then gives me only 60 seconds to answer it. But because we have another person with M in their name, it's now Michelle's Minute on the Mic.
Michelle's Minute on the Mic. Here
So
we go.
Maggie, get your watch
I'm putting
out.
on a stopwatch, Michelle.
So you have 60 seconds, and we will aggressively cut you off if you go over.
And Jake, you can't talk. This is only for Michelle.
All right, Michelle, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, 2-part question. If you had to pick one foreign country to call home, what would it be and why? And if you had to, and then pick one country you would prefer never to visit again and why? And go.
Oh my goodness, so hard. Okay. I really love Southeast Asia. I would love to spend more time there. It's so hard for me to say live anywhere. That's why we keep traveling. That's our problem right now. But you know what? Maybe if I had to live anywhere right now, I would pick like France, because I want to learn the language, and I think it's like really beautiful in the countryside there. If I would never want to visit again, I find something great in every country. That's my problem. Oh my goodness, never want to visit again.
You've still got 20 seconds, so you can take a minute. I mean, 2 seconds. That's a tough question. That's like, who's your favorite child, Mike?
She only has 10 seconds left. She needs to finish.
You know what? I don't think we'd go back to Morocco. I think we did Morocco. We're done with Morocco. It was fine. It wasn't one of our favorites. We had a great time there, but I think that would be the country that I don't think I need to visit again.
Okay. Well, we've just lost all of our Moroccan listeners. Thanks, Michelle.
And actually, that was pretty good timing. You finished right on 59 seconds.
And I interrupted a little bit, so. Okay, well done. Cool.
Yeah,
I hope you guys.
guys.
I hope you enjoy the extended trip. It sounds like it's gonna be awesome. I'm sure you hear this sometimes from people, but I do just want you to know, in case you don't hear it enough, you guys are doing amazing things. You are doing something so amazing and special for your kids, and you should know that you're awesome parents for doing that and for making that lifestyle decision, because I think there's a lot of us who often are wondering if we're doing the right thing by our kids, and if we spend enough time with them, and we're making these, the right quality of memories and just time with them. And I love how you've reversed it. And I constantly am watching stuff you guys are doing, and it's inspiring me to spend more time with my kids. We've actually been taking longer vacations since I knew about what you guys were doing. And so you're doing great stuff.
That is so great to hear. That is really nice to hear. Thank you. I think that's really, really, really nice to hear. That could be the best compliment, honestly.
I remember the day, this was a couple years ago, that I went into my boss's office and was actually talking about you guys and was like, could I take a few months off? I was sort of saying, like, I was like, I don't want to do it now, but like in a year or two, like I want to take the whole summer off. And like, could I do that?
Yeah.
And it was based on you guys and just knowing, like thinking about the idea of like, what am I waiting for, sort of, you know?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I love that. And I think more people can do that. I think more and more this day and age, companies, especially if you're a good employee or if you're good at what you do and you work hard, like they are more willing to be flexible with you.
Yeah, I think that's true.
So that you can also live, you know, and you're not stuck in just this like work, no way out kind of realm.
Yes, I love it. We're a blended family with myself and my husband. And so my one thing that is kind of sad about it is that we can't completely just get up and like move somewhere else with our kids because we can't take them away from their other parents. But I that's why I say I live vicariously through you guys. And I love what you're doing. And we've really enjoyed you guys taking some time to talk to us today.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm a longtime listener, but a first-time caller, and I'm just a big fan of the show.
Thanks so much. Very kind of you to say.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks, and best luck with the podcast. I think it's going to be great. It's a great concept. Love the topic.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks, Jake.
Thanks guys.
Michelle.
All right. Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Maggie. Have a
Bye.
great weekend.
All right.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. All right. Well, that was super inspiring. I really enjoyed that.
I really enjoyed that.
I think you and I might quit our jobs on Monday.
I'm telling you, since they started their travels, I immediately, like a couple months in, literally was sitting in my boss's office, like talking about them and was just saying like, I want to take an extended vacation. And then I went for a 2-week trip with my kids to Canada. And then I was like, well, maybe not that long. It was a tough age at that point, but
it really makes you listening to, like, it's a very real story. It's very relatable. It really makes you question, like, why are we doing things the way we're doing them?
Yeah, I agree. It has constantly made me question sort of just the reverse order of retiring, which is why I always love their name, the Retired Toddlers, because just the idea of, retiring while your kids are young and you can always go back to work later and do more later is a great concept.
So you can keep up with Jake and Michelle at retiredtoddlers.com and also on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook.
And we'll put some links in the show notes.
And for us, if you have any questions or comments, you can give us a call at 404-981-3370. Leave us a question or comment, and we'll play it on the air.
And we would love for you to subscribe to our podcast and also leave us a review. We really get a lot of value out of hearing your feedback. And also those reviews help us to get new listeners.
And you can find us at friendsonfire.org. .org. If you want to check us out, find the latest episodes, sign up for email, or just get in touch with us.
Awesome.
All right. Thanks, Maggie.
Yeah. Thanks, Mike.
Bye.
Bye.